Hey y'all, so I'm going to be channeling a message today, and really what it is it's just whatever comes up, whatever universe wants us to have for this message. And as you know, I do weekly predictive reads for all the signs. So know your sun, your moon, your rising, and you can look at the full scope of the week. And I do it once a month too, so that in case you need to see the whole month. And for me, like, I know that you like the videos, that you want to see longer videos or things like that. By you liking the videos, sharing the videos, and subscribing, that really helps, circulate the message to those who need it, and those sharing the wisdom, because it's not from me, it's from spirit, and, us having this collective experience together. So what I'm gonna do now is, you know what? Let's do a little spray. Okay. Do a little channel. Asking for the message that we need to hear right in the moment, surrendering to the outcome, being open, honest, and flowing with. Okay. So let's see what message is coming up. How are y'all doing, by the way? How's everything going? Okay. This is what's first card. World card. High Priestess. We're seeing a shift in the world, and we're seeing a shift in the consciousness of the world, and it's happening right now. The first thought that came up was the age of Aquarius. You know how there's like this, okay, so in astrology, there are astrological ages in time. So, and they last for like 2,000-3,000 years. Sometimes people, astrologers will say 4,000 years. And each time period represents an astrological age. So in the age of, Pisces, which happens to be a representation of Jesus, I was going to say Buddha, of Jesus, the Abrahamic lineages of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, that 200-year period of Pisces, the fish, you think of like the story of Jesus and the fish and the loaves of bread. Pisces, which is martyrdom, Jesus, giving that martyrdom as well. There's a shift between Pisces, because yes, you have that wisdom tradition that came up there, but then what happened in society was different too. There was a lot of institutions that came up. There was a lot of people using religion in a bad way. Colonization happened of the the conquering, and which created the issue of racism and colorism today. The gender differences, the mass homophobia, because the thing about, especially with queerness is not some new thing that happened. It's occurred throughout history, but it was not until this rise in kind of this new religious tradition that came up during this time that it was signaled out that, like homophobia or being homophobic or transphobic was an okay thing to do. Whereas before, people kind of looked at it as like, oh, it's just an occurrence, just, it happens. And the way we know that historically is because there's language, there are names, there are things like that different cultures had, which shows that it predates, certain moments, and, they came to their own understanding. But you see a shift going into the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian. Aquarius is the sign of the friend, the sign of the revolution, the individualistic, of becoming more, of becoming new, of merging the past with the future, of being that energy there. And so that's what's coming up. And fun, Pisces energy gave a lot of seriousness, martyrdom, being pulled in every direction. And this energy is like working smarter, not harder. This is what the collective consciousness is trying to teach us: work smarter, not harder. Like, for example, the transition between, fossil fuels and renewable resources. Sure, it's a big inconvenience, but it's smarter. Why wouldn't we want to put all our resources into something that can never go away? Why aren't things more like electric, more like fueled from that kind of perspective? Why? Like, work smarter, not harder. Now, the reason why there has been such a resistance to move forward is because there's a lot of money, there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of capital behind a lot of these things. And it's the same reason why you see like drug companies who charge so much money for a prescription, where it's like, oh my gosh, you found a solution. Why wouldn't you just give that out free? Well, because they spent billions of dollars researching it, they need to recoup the cost by having a patent on it. But even that system as a whole is problematic. You know, that feeling of we don't even have enough resources available for scientists to research these diseases, that private companies have to come in and do it to be incentivized to do so. So there's this shift of energy happening in the collective consciousness, and you can feel it. You can feel it yourself. Page of Pentacles, which I was talking about, thinking of a new way of how to go about things financially. That's what's holding back the transition. Whatever this like new way of transition is, what's holding it back is the way that people are making money. Now, look, let me tell you, capitalism is real. Capitalism is real. And there's nothing wrong with making money, but it's just morally, like, there's ways to make money that you don't have to be backwards or be limiting, or things that are no longer working. And then the Queen of Pentacles is saying ultimately, you know, what we want is very different. I'm getting like this, like, it's going to be a lot of fumbling until we get there. That's how transitional periods are, though. A lot of fumbling. But we see it, you know, we see it. They're calling to each other, like this old way and this new way. And a lot of strength. A lot of strength in how to get there. Finding a way to, like, be comfortable with the fact that it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process. And the insecurities that come up. So when I was talking about capitalism and I was talking about insecurities and looking at the perspective of like the 1% and things like that, why does 1% of the population own 99% of your resources? Well, that's because a sense of insecurity that if all of these huge, you know, wealth owners were to disband or something, give up their wealth and everything, you know, there would be there's still this moral or this conscious issue with the human experience that the fear of scarcity drives people to do that. So until we move as a collective in a conscious level that we no longer feel like, let me hoard, just for me, just for mine, you know, even though that might be a disparity to others, that insecurity exists. So that's what we're trying to resolve right now, to be able to fully move on to the age of Aquarius. And really, where everyone wins. Everyone wins. Think about it. Like, even in the U.S., there are still people who are starving. There are still people who are hungry. Other parts of the world, there's still people who are hungry, but yet we waste so much food. We throw away food. We do. And I'm not even just talking about a person at their house. I mean, like, our actual agricultural system wastes so much food. The reason why it wastes so much food, because there's a lot of things going on. There's a certain type of product that they can sell. So even if the food is viable to eat, they can't necessarily sell it to anybody because it doesn't look like a certain way. It might look like a funky looking potato or something like that. Or, you know, there might be a surplus of something, and in order to control the price of a vegetable or something, they might have to remove some of this out of circulation to control the inflation of it. All of these things, but yet there are still people who are starving, who don't have access. Something about that financially is not right. Something about that doesn't make sense. Something about the way that the world that we live in now, which is coming up in the Nine of Wands, the way the plans that we put in place do not work. And what's coming up is, like, you remember in the Industrial Revolution, that's when, like, child labor laws started to come up, because you saw America industrializing so quickly, into the point where they needed even kids to go work. But kids were being paid scraps. They were very dangerous things, you know. You had kids working on those, like, big skyscrapers and all that stuff. So it's so interesting, you know, so interesting. Like right there I got stuck because I was seeing, like, you know how they, like, the working on the skyscraper, and they would be sitting right there eating their lunch, you know. And like I just kind of got stuck in that moment of seeing that, like how things grow. There's opportunity, but making sure that opportunity is worth it. Because I have to assume, how many times do people fall off that thing? You know, how many times, I mean, it's not funny, but how many times did kids be seriously injured, or, you know, have some type of trauma that happens as they have to go and work? Ace of Wands, which is the this insecurity that is causing people to hoard. We're waiting for this new conscious understanding that will bring us forward. We're waiting for it. It's going to come, but we're waiting for it. It has not appeared yet. And that's when things will feel magically like they just come together. And the Ace of Pentacles represents this new way, this new movement, this new approach to things, but it's going to be this very much so delayed sense. So this is a very universal message of how we are shifting, as well as you can look at it in your own self. You're going to see these things change and shift forward in yourself. And as you can hear, the alarms are letting us know that it's time for a change. It's time for something new. We can no longer ignore things. We can no longer allow things to be, but this is coming. Let me ask the cards when it is, though, because, you know, it could come in 100 years, 1,000 years. When is this coming? Because who doesn't want to be a part of this lifetime? But okay, you know, if we incarnate again, you know, energetically, we'll be there. 3, Queen. $33. So at least 33 years. In 33 years, there is going to be this shift that happens that's going to really start to move us. Now, it might last longer. It might last 33 years to, you know, the next 100 or 200 years. But that shift is going to come. So this is a really, really macro read. I know that people are usually used to reading from the perspective of like, okay, how's this going to affect my everyday life tomorrow or the next day? But sometimes I feel like, life is easier to handle when I see a bigger picture happening, because then I don't sweat the small stuff. So this is what the message that came up today for the channeled messages. So, you know, I'm going to do this every week. I do the channeled message every week on Friday. So stay tuned there. And we can see then what comes up for the message of next week. That wants us to know. Very timeless. But yeah, I got you. So I'll see you next week.